Your foundation was built before you knew you were building it. Hello, and welcome back to episode 5 of Kaizen with Luca. Today, we're talking about what your earliest win tells you about how you're actually wired. Some research here: self efficacy, which is belief in your own capacity to execute, has a strong positive correlation with intentional growth and career planning. And courageous behavior is positively associated with job quality and a coherent professional identity among young adults. So, this in and of itself is a powerful topic because I think a lot of the things that we do, especially hard things in life, they all start with the foundation. Now, the foundation is something that you most likely have not set up yourself. Foundation, when we're just discovering it or when we just get put into something hard, is typically identified by what we had built growing up. And this is where you can actually take control of your foundation. You can tear it down and build a new one that actually works for you instead of what others believed they needed you to have. Now, foundation growing up, I believe, is different than the foundation we have when we're pivoting from childhood to adulthood. The foundation that I build now looks way different than the foundation that I had when I was growing up. I think the foundation we have when we're growing up, when something hard comes our way, we typically will just run to the person that we think has the most information. And that most of the time is going to be our parents or grandparents or whatever, whoever's around us that has the most knowledge. When you run into a problem in your adulthood, you tend to not run to that person right off the bat anymore. They're typically the second or third option when it comes to problem solving. First, I think when we hit adulthood, is our foundation changes from running to a knowledgeable person to first addressing the situation and do we actually have the knowledge to figure out what this is? And then the second part of that would be Googling it. I think, like, before we had access to phones and whatever, as kids, I think we didn't really have any other way to go. And I was actually just reading an article today talking about AI and how it's not necessarily scary in the sense of what jobs it can take. Now, that is a big threat, but the other threat is curiosity. And it removes a lot of the intersocial, like, way of finding out new things. You no longer call somebody to figure out a problem. You just kind of go straight to Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, Google. I think this all probably started with Google and the search engine, but the foundations have changed at the end of the day. So we are going to be talking about the strengths, right? So I think most people look for their strengths in their most recent accomplishments, but the signal is a lot earlier than that. Your strengths show up a lot earlier than the most recent. This is the first time you did something hard without being told you could. And this reveals a lot more about who you are, or this reveals a lot more about how you are wired than any assessment or performance review will ever. So think about, and this would be the question. I have questions to ask you to drop in the comments if you want to answer them. And also, if you're interested in the Kaizen Sprint, I will have a form down below. And if you want to join the community, please hit subscribe, like, and share this podcast or channel with somebody who you think needs to better themselves. But I will have a form down below if you want to join us on a journey through self-discovery with me. And I'll ask some questions about this kind of thing of like, think about the first time you did something hard. And that, like, without being told, right? Nobody has told you to go do this thing. You just had to do it. So there's a couple different things. Self-belief, right? There's told versus proven. There's two different types, at least that I'll be talking about. So told self-belief is from somebody that's, you know, telling you that you are capable. Now, that is kind of what I am doing in some of these podcasts. I'm doing told self-belief because I'm telling you that you are capable of doing the things that you are setting your mind to. I'm telling you that you can do it, that I believe in you, and that you should believe in yourself. I'm just telling you these things. But the thing is that I can, and you can say, oh, that's great, but, I'm going to go click away or whatever, and then nothing happens. Told self-belief is fragile in the sense that it can just come and go. You feel that motivation in the moment, and then it's just going to go right away. Proven self-belief is actually built through doing something that is hard, and this is structural because this becomes more permanent because you have the proof that you can do it because you have done it, right? So most people have never actually separated these two and don't know which kind they are operating on. I think if you're somebody who's probably persistent and you're able to get through a lot of hard things, or you're kind of easy to jump on to problems and go straight into problem solving mode, you probably have a proven self-belief because it just comes natural to you. Some people are a little bit uneasy, or they don't want to necessarily dive right into something immediately because they have that fragile told self-belief. They don't have the confidence to go out there and do it just yet. And this is also like a wiring question too. So there's, you have flow state and problem solving styles. They're often visible in the earliest things you've built or attempted. Think about the patterns that could show up. What did you do before you had the language to describe it as a skill? And that could be, like, oh, I'm time management, or like discipline, or, I can write really well, or like, I don't know, just think about when you have problems, right? So I think for me, when I was doing projects in high school and stuff, my immediate thing was like, let's just say that one of the problems that I had was a class project. My immediate thing was that I wanted to go and create video presentations over slide presentations. And this ended up being something that I just kind of did, right? Nobody told me that I am capable of making a video. But something in me was just like, you know what? I can do this. I have a camera. I can edit somewhat. And, let me just try it out and see how it goes. So I asked the teacher, I was like, hey, instead of doing a slide, can I do a video? And I did these videos. I think I did about like 7 or 8 of them for this class. And it was a lot of fun. I hope my classmates enjoyed it as much as I did. But the proven self-belief in that came after the first one. And I had the told self-belief to myself that I am capable. I had to tell myself that I am capable before I can go and get the proven. So that's one thing. And then those patterns started to show, right? The pattern of every time I had a presentation, I would say, can I make this into a video? And if I could, I'll go and do it. And then this was before I could even say what skills I had, right? So at this point, after I've done a number of these, I can say that I was creative, or I was able to edit videos, or direct videos, or anything that comes with making a video. Now, here's the other thing. All of those things have led up to this. This is no different than what I did in high school. This is a skill that has helped me with public speaking well before I even thought about it, right? Creating a video, sitting down in front of a camera, reading off of a script, or just like thinking off the top of my head, or using talking points and diving into those a little bit deeper. All of those things that I did back in high school all led up to how I present today without me even knowing, right? So so why is the signal early? So by the time you reach your first job, you have already been shaped by other people's definitions of what you are good at. The signal you are looking for precedes that shaping. It's in the moments before anyone's opinion had weight. So what this is essentially saying is that by the time, like, my first job, man, what was my first job? I don't even know. I don't even remember what my first job was. Hmm. Man, that sucks. I don't remember what I did. I used to do um a lot of work with my stepdad, like growing up when I would travel down over the summertime. He's a contractor, and I would do some work with him. And um, I mean, I would learn that I could do, some hands-on things. I was not really a hands-on guy. I learned that I could carry heavy objects. I learned that I was stronger than I thought I was. Um, and then when I got into, man, what was my first job? That's gonna really bother me now. Let me quickly look at my LinkedIn profile to see if I have it down there, because I just have to see if I have it or not. That's really gonna bother me. The first job. Really? Would that be it? 2019? I doubt it. I doubt that's my first job. All right. Well, we'll go according to this. 2019 first job would be, I was a guest service member at an aquarium. That was it. I think that was it. And then that ended up being a Marine team member when I went into college, um, and I was getting a Marine Affairs degree because I was really into fish at that time. And then I went and became like a barista and all that kind of stuff afterwards when I started getting into coffee. Then I worked at Home Depot for a little bit. Like, all of these different things. A lot of people-focused jobs. Um, and if we look at that, maybe you can say customer service is in there. Um, you can say attention to detail, complex tasks, like all these different things that come out when you just reflect on the jobs that you've had, rather than thinking about the most recent, right? The most recent job was admissions counselor, right? Well, a lot of those positions that I've had all can still tie into that role, right? I mean, explaining complex problems in a simple way, the customer service aspect, the dependability, the attention to detail, all of those things. So all of them lead up into all these different skills and the foundation that you have. So you need to look back and think about all the different things that you've done and build that skill set. These are not things that necessarily live on your resume, although you probably have talked about them, but they're not going to live there. So why do most people miss these early signals? So you're missing the signal because you're looking at credentials and job titles instead of the experiences. So the things that built your belief is usually not on the resume. It's somewhere specific and unglamorous and entirely yours. So you have to think beyond the role, right? You have to think beyond the credentials, beyond the job title, and think about those experiences that you've had. And how have you navigated those? What in the job was hard, or what about it was easy to you? And start jotting those things down, because oftentimes they're going to be the really mundane things, and not really anything that's glamorous, right? I mean, when I was working at Home Depot, a lot of the different things was just about how quickly I can search things, and improve experiences. Because I worked in deliveries, so I was all over the store. And that experience is, if you're in lumber, if you're in plumbing or in garden. Like, I don't know any of those things really, right? I just have a phone. I walk around. I try to pick the product and then bring it up to the counter essentially within the time frame. You want to be pretty quick, but you want to make sure that you're able to be efficient and accurate. So one of the things that I had was I was really great at finding things. Oftentimes, I would struggle and not be able to find everything, and that's fine. But I was really great at finding things. So even if I didn't know what piece of the plumbing thing was, I knew that I was able to search it really fast and able to help that person out quicker rather than calling somebody that works in plumbing and having them find it. So you have to think about the experiences that you've provided that go beyond just the title and your job description. So I want you to think back to your earliest win that you can remember. So this is not the most impressive win, not the most recent win, but the first one that made you think I can do hard things. So think about that for a second. Think about your earliest win. I would say my earliest win for me would be back when I was, just had to go back. Maybe I'm gonna give it like 11 to 13 years ago. Where does that place me? It should place me around like 13 to 15, around that time. Maybe even a little older. Maybe I'll go like 16. But in that 13 to 16 range. Somewhere in there, I was down in Florida visiting my mom, and we were unloading cinder blocks. We were unloading cinder blocks for a job. Number one, awful. Terrible. But I was a kid that, pretty chubby, I was a chubby kid. It wasn't really working out that much. But that was the hardest task because you're in the sun. I have on like sunscreen, like bright color, long sleeves. But that was like the first time I had ever done hard work, like grueling hard work. And I pushed through. My forearms had the most immaculate pump ever. And I pushed through and I moved. I just helped and moved a bunch of cinder blocks. And that, although it was not really glamorous, it wasn't really impressive. Maybe, I guess, if you're somebody like looking on the outside and you see this, young kid moving a bunch of blocks. But I just had something to prove to myself that I was like, I could probably move a bunch of blocks. I could probably do this. And granted, I think I moved about 5 before I was like gassed out and I didn't really want to move them anymore. And then I slowed down. But that was a big win. And that showed me I was like, I can move heavy objects. I'm strong. I could do this. Like, I proved it to myself that I could do it. So think about that. Walk yourself through an early win and break it down for yourself. Maybe write it down on a piece of paper. Put it in the notes section on your phone. Just think about the first win. And if you're somebody that is not, in college or whatever, and you're a more seasoned professional or you're older, do this exercise too. Reacquaint yourself with the earliest win that you've had. And this could be go dating all the way back, like to your first job. But just walk down that memory lane and write it down and think about like what you were doing in that moment. What did it smell like? What did it feel like? Place yourself back into those moments and relive it for a second. And share it in the comments if you want. And remember that. Remember your first win and what that actually did for you. So, what do you do with what you found after you've gone through this little exercise? So, we're not doing this just for pure nostalgia, but this is intelligence. Once you know how you are wired, you can direct that wiring towards something intentional. And this is the bridge from excavation to direction. If you've heard me say direction changes everything, this is what I'm talking about. This is kind of a glimpse into your North Star. So maybe think about from the story or the first little win that you've had, think about how you approached it, how you're wired. And this is just a glimpse into what we'll do with Kaizen. And again, if you're interested, forms down below. It's an email and your first name. That's it. Just to tell me you're interested. But I'll leave you with a closing question, which is similar to what we just asked. But I'll leave it just in case. What is the earliest thing you did that proved something to yourself, not to anyone else? And are you still using that capability today, or have you built a life that keeps it buried? That's powerful. I can say for me, I have built something that still uses the capability today. I have even worked on that ability. So this week, find the moment. Write down what happened, how old you were, and what it proved to you. And bring that back. Share it if you want. Email it, if you want to have a conversation. But share that. So that's what I'll leave y'all with today. Appreciate you for listening. And let's rebuild that foundation, or find that foundation again. Catch you guys in the next one. Remember, direction changes everything. Subscribe, share this with somebody, like the video if it's resonated with you, and fill out the form down below if you're interested in doing the Kaizen sprint along with me. I'll see you later.